Evening everyone and welcome to another episode of Not Another Rangers podcast with myself hosting because Gary is out in his jollies again. So tonight joining me is Ricky. How you doing, Ricky?
Good, mate. Good week. I've had a very good week. Obviously, glad to get rid of the international break and get that international football out the way just for Rangers to come back. And I'm sure they're going to put on an amazing performance to give us a good weekend tomorrow. So, no, we had a great week, mate. So, very happy.
And yourself, Callum, yourself joining me this evening. How have you been this week?
Yeah, been alright, mate. Yeah, I was off 2 days, Monday, Tuesday with work, so had a nice chill time with the missus. Was hoping we'd have a manager in place by tonight, but doesn't seem to be the case. So yeah, I'm alright, mate. Not too bad.
No, I think we'll get there eventually, Cam. Don't know when, don't know where, but we'll get there eventually. Is that my song somewhere?
It is,
There's
yeah.
something that lyrics somewhere, isn't there? Anyway, Ricky, we're obviously the news for the last 12, 13 days, however long Russell Martin's been away, is about getting a manager in. Obviously, we'll talk to Steven Gerrard, and then he rolled himself out at the last minute for various reasons, depending what you read, depending who you listen to, but various reasons. And we've been linked to so many different managers, Ricky. At one point, it was just a case of put your hand in a hat and pull out a name, wasn't it? I mean, on this managerial process, obviously, it's been conducted by Kavanagh and Marat because Thelwell and Stewart were, by all accounts, put to the sidelines. What's your opinion on this so far? Because to me, I think it's just a bit of a farce.
Yeah, it's a bit like everything since these American owners have came in, mate. They must have known they wanted to hang on to Russell Martin until, I mean, he was, never mind the cliff edge, his feet were in the water, his knees were in the water, his arms were in the water, and they were still trying to cling on and tell us that he was the greatest manager in the world, mate. So you think there would have been some planning going on for at least the last sort of 4 weeks when it looked like it was, you think the Americans would have been speaking to Thelwell and Stewart going, look, can you draw up a list of candidates and stuff like that? I'll give them a bit of slack with the Gerrard situation because I think that Gerrard, from what I'm hearing, if it's to do with tax situation and all that, I don't think he should have came over to London to speak to us because I think he knows that Rangers were never going to pay 6, 7, 8 million, whatever it was, of his tax bill to get him to come to Rangers and all that sort of stuff. And I think there's a lot of stuff being said about that, and we don't actually know the facts. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I think with everything else, and then after that, to be honest with you, the candidates that we were getting linked with for a day were absolutely scary. I was terrified when I heard some of the names. It looked like they just interviewed every manager in Britain in one day in London. It was like they got 1 minute each in the room, and it was right, dance like a chicken for us and do some juggling, and then you might get the job. And so it was absolute chaos. And then I was glad once that all settled down, we heard that Muscat was going to be the one because, you know, I've been a champion for Muscat for many a year. I thought he should have got the job. At the end of the day, he was up against Clement. He went on to win 2 titles, or he's going to win 2 titles in a row, and we've went downhill. We're in 8th position in the league and we can't win a game in Europe all of a sudden, mate. So there's been a lot of stuff going on the last 12 days. I just hope that it gets announced. It looks like they'll probably wait. I don't think they want to maybe do that to Stevie Smith. They're going to let the water stay calm until tomorrow and get the match out of the way, and then I can see them announcing it on Sunday. I think that'll be that's from what I can see, that's going to be the plan. But I think it is a done deal, Muscat. I'm happy we've got there in the end. But about the process and everything, the club need to get a grip. They need to catch a grip, Kerr, and they need to put processes in place so that if Muscat is here 3, 4, 5 years and he moves on to the Premier League, it'd be the dream scenario after winning titles with us. They have to have a proper plan in place to get someone quick if that is going to be the situation.
What about yourself, Cameron? Obviously, you know yourself, we had different conversations about various names and stuff the last 7 to 10 days. What's been your view? Obviously, you live down south, so you don't see the Scottish media as well. You might hear about it as much as us, but nobody really seemed to know or know who we were going for. There's various names bandied about, and then Paul Scholes is on a podcast of his own, banding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it's like, are we just throwing darts at a wall and saying, like, this is names here, and just, it was a bit of shambles, wasn't it? It was getting to a stage where it was a bit of a laughing stock.
Yeah, it was a bit like speed dating, wasn't it, at one point? So I think the fact that we didn't hear it, I think that's maybe down to the club. I think the club just weren't letting anything go. I think something that screams to me is I think clearly Gerrard was the number one target, and they put all their eggs in that basket, and it obviously looked like it was a done deal. And then something's happened last minute, and I think they've just essentially then started the process again with individuals. I think the Danny Roll stuff. I'm not really sure how close that was. That may have been his people more than anything, because you had that case, didn't you, where you had Gerrard's people leaking that it was really done. It was really close done deal. You had Rangers people leaking, going, no, it's not that close. So you never really know. Sometimes it's just people leaking stuff. So it is a bit of a circus. Muscat wasn't my pick, to be honest. I know that Craig Moore's kind of been sort of throwing him at us for the last couple of years. But we'll just have to see where it goes from here. I think tomorrow you'll see an improved performance, I think, under Stevie Smith. So I just want someone in the door. So if he brings us success, happy days. If he doesn't, then we'll have the same conversation again in 6-7 months. I think that the club have kept tight on this one, but I think there's probably been bumps in the road in this process which maybe we're not privy to.
I mean, obviously, we'll stay with you, Cameron, right? Obviously, we had the big, takeoff in the summer, and we were all shouting from the rooftops and flying American flags and 49ers hats galore and stuff. But do you think keeping quiet is actually helping them at times? Because they've not really said a lot through this process, the managers, right? They kind of doubled down at one point on Russell Martin, but they knew it was inevitable he was going to have to go because the results weren't improving at all. I don't think it was a good rapport in the dressing room. The fans were the worst I've seen Rangers fans, and I'm 53. So, do you think they should have come out and said more to us? Or do you think they're right and just keeping quiet? Because keeping quiet can make it seem a lot worse than it may be.
Maybe, but I think, in reference to the Steven Gerrard thing, if you're to come out and basically air that, really those conversations are private conversations between the person that you're interviewing and the club.
I just mean tell us, right, Gerrard didn't work out, we're on to the next one. Well, just keeping us updated in the process going on, and like Farewell come out and totally double down on Martin, didn't he, and so did Stuart. And Gavin
maybe, but there's not. I don't really know of any club that does that, to be fair. So I don't know why we would. To be honest, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't particularly know of any club which, when they're going through a list of candidates and 2 people for the job, they kind of announce that this person's not getting it, so now we're looking at this individual. So I think they just like to keep stuff in-house. Even for weeks with the Russell Martin stuff when he was announced, that kind of didn't really come into the picture until about a week before he was announced. Everybody said the same. It was going to be Stevie G or it was going to be Sean Dyche. It was very tough to get anything out of the club. So I don't know. Maybe that's just the way that they want to run it, the tight ship. So I don't really think it makes that much difference to them, because if you'd have come out and said we're looking at Muscat, the fans would have gone, oh, brilliant, nice one. He's what we want. So I don't think it would have made much difference, to be honest.
Do you think, Ricky, do you agree with that? Or do you think they should have said something? Because obviously they've come out in the past, especially Patrick Stewart, kind of constantly having digs at the fan base, and then not really saying anything through Martin's tenure, apart from saying the back him. Not really saying anything just now, and it's like there's so many, especially with the social media and the podcasts and the fan media, all different stuff. I know it's different times to years ago, and sometimes clubs like to keep things indoors, but they did say at one of the fan advisory boards that they let the fans know, didn't they? I just feel there's not been a lot of come and go. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, mate, if you look at what's probably going to happen, if you're looking into the future, the next 6 weeks, I think if Muscat is not coming in until the end of November, I think probably what you will see is Neil McCann is not really going to be unveiled. The next time we see him will be, if he is going to be the interim manager, he'll be doing a press conference for the European game on Thursday. So I think what you'll probably see is a farewell or a Patrick Stewart Rangers TV interview, and they'll tell you that they looked at all the candidates and decided that Muscat was the best one. Will they give you anything about Gerrard? I very, very much doubt it, but they might say they spoke to various candidates, and you're going to get, I think you'll probably get the usual what you would expect, Kerr. I don't think they're going to come out and go, Gerrard wanted 5-6 million for a tax bill, or Gerrard didn't want the job because he doesn't like me, or he doesn't want the job because he wanted to be the manager, or whatever, all the things that have been. And it's just, I think it would be great, and I think it would help the new manager, it would help McCann, it would put all the old stuff to bed, especially if it is a situation that's in the club's favour, which it may well be, because one thing our club doesn't need just now is bad publicity. We don't need more stuff in the media. I mean, the press are absolutely horrendous in Scotland, mate. Watching them trip over themselves, the Scottish press, where Gerrard wasn't the man. He was, or Rangers fans were crazy. They wanted Gerrard. Now they're hitting us where, oh, Gerrard would have been good. Muscat is not the man. A few of them are saying Muscat is. They kind of make their minds up. They're hilarious to watch. And then the English media never watch anything to do with Rangers and all pretend that they watch every game and that they're entitled to an opinion about Rangers. So it's difficult to gauge what is actually going on in the media, mate. But I don't think you're going to get much from the club. I think they'll let Stevie Smith take the game tomorrow, Kerr. I think Sunday you'll get an announcement that Muscat is going to be the manager. And I think McCann will start on Monday with the players. And then the first you'll hear from McCann will be the press conference on Wednesday night over in, we're playing, is it Brann in Norway we're playing? So I think that'll be the first time you'll hear from McCann, and then you'll get a Rangers TV interview, and that'll be your lot.
I mean, obviously it's just every day, we're just going to have to wait to hear what we're seeing for the club, because apart from maybe sending out things about birthdays or international tweets or by the shirt with the poppy on it, which is a very good thing, by the way. I'm still actually considering getting one, even though I've got a hobby shirt, but I'd like one with the poppy on it, and somebody actually get it tomorrow when I'm up. But I just think any left, but they've not really given us a lot, and I feel they should maybe give us a wee bit more than they are giving us. And Cam, obviously everybody's now leaning towards Kevin Muscat. There's actually sending links today. You can watch his game this morning on YouTube, and people are going to watch Shanghai Port in a Chinese league game for. Never watched Chinese football in my life, but actually put 50 minutes highlights on YouTube, and I thought, this is utter guff. Some of the defending was poor, but basically just like watching Rangers, to be fair. But
yeah,
I know he's, but until the club announces he's coming, until he agrees, I mean, it's still not 100%. Say for talking's sake, Cameron, he sits up and says it's not the right time. Where do we go?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, Danny Rose already ruled himself out of work, so then you are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. You know, you're then looking at, did you get someone like Barry Ferguson in and go, right, yeah, our job's for the boys? Yeah, I know I'd be the same, Ricky. That'd be my worst nightmare. But you generally are looking at, I mean, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel as it is. So you're then literally looking under the barrel and going, is there anything under there? So if the Muscat thing comes out, then you've got to ask serious questions, because the reason for Roll coming out was that it wasn't the right time. But I think that was just purely because he just wasn't getting the job. Yeah. He must have been number 3. So I don't think that was anything to do with time. It was just more likely he wasn't getting the job, and he knew it. So he just thought, put me out of my misery, I'll go get another job elsewhere. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it would probably have to then be either McInnes or Robinson, really, wouldn't it?
And Derek,
that's who you're left with.
He ruled himself out, basically. He's happy at heart, doesn't he? And obviously, I mean, Kevin Muscat.
Well, like we said before, he's never going to stick his neck out, is he?
No. Obviously, you don't as a manager. You don't have a manager. You don't. You're in a job. You have to be respectful of your employers. But I'll just, before I go into Ricky, Kevin Muscat's been offered, been in for interviews before, and come on and got it. And then obviously Martin got it in the summer, and he wasn't really mentioned. Now he's coming in, but he's not coming until November. And if that's the man you want, then you have to wait. And that doesn't mean it's unfair on us. It's probably him showing respect to the team he's with and the employers he's got. But does this not mean as well, Kevin Muscat's working on with his demands, because we're now wanting him instead of him wanting us? So he's got a bit more power with playing his cards, because he can say, I'll stay in November and get a wee bit more wages because he's been into the process twice interview-wise and I got it, but now we are chasing him. So it's turned to, it's went 360 basically, or whatever, or 180, what you want to call it, but he's now got more power, and I see people saying, why does it come just now? But I kind of think, well, he's entitled to stay till November, and we're chasing him, he's not chasing us.
The bottom line is he's not our manager, is he?
No.
So if he wants to stay where he is until a certain point, he can do that. And it may well be earlier because who knows, the team who are second may lose the next two games and it's all wrapped up and he can come before then. So it's not necessarily it has to be 22nd of November or whatever it is, but I mean maybe that's why I didn't get the job last time around, because it was around this time 2 years ago when Clement got appointed, and I think that may have been a similar issue, was he wasn't going to leave until that season was finished. So who knows? But look, if he's the guy you want and those are his terms, what's your alternative? Have we got someone else lined up? Do you really want to be going into potentially a semi-final with Stevie Smith as your manager? Is that really what you want? And have a process where a month goes by and you still haven't replaced Russell Martin? I don't think that's a good look. So I think, unfortunately, just the situation when we are at Muscat's mercy. So if he wants to come next week, then brilliant.
Yeah. No. And Ricky, I see a lot of people comparing Muscat to Russell Martin. Listen, I don't have a clue the way any of these teams played, because I don't watch that type of football. I've watched 15 minutes earlier on because it was on YouTube and I was watching the Boys across Northern Ireland and across the water pod, so I was watching them and it come up after I watched them tonight, and I watched 15 minutes of it, and the defending isn't great, and a couple of people in the comments saying high line and giving the ball away and stuff, and I say other people I've heard other people saying that's a bit like Russell Martin, but it's slightly opposite for Russell Martin, isn't it? Not as in he never really played through balls, hasn't he, to the side with Russell Martin, whereas a lot of that Shanghai Port were playing a lot of diagonals, they were playing a lot of forward passes and they were trying to play between the lines.
Fucking haircare. I've heard bad calls for Rangers fans before, but normally we give them managers at least 10 minutes when they're actually the Rangers manager before we judge them. Now we're watching them in the Chinese league and he's shite after 90 minutes of Chinese football. Get him out. He's the same as Russell Martin. Get the red signal through his head. Jesus Christ, man. Let me tell you the difference with Kevin Muscat. Kevin Muscat is a winner, mate. He's won 3 championships in 3 different leagues. He's a very well high thought of manager. He's coming into the Rangers job with his head in the clouds. The guy's floating into Ibrox the end of November. It's no Kevin Muscat's fault that we appointed Russell Martin and spent 30-40 million pound in the summer and handed him a worse squad than what we had in the summer. Well, that's still debatable. We'll see with the players. That's no Kevin Muscat's fault. The mess that Rangers in is Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marat. Basically, it's their fault. They're the owners. They put Kevin Felwell, Patrick Stewart. They did the review of the club and decided to go with one 19-year-old left back, not sort out the defence, bring in so many loan players, go for an £8 million striker, and I'm not picking on Shmeti because we'll get to him later. But that's no Kevin Muscat's fault. Kevin, we went over to China and want him to be the Rangers manager. The guy's shown integrity to the team that he's wedges now. He's got 3 games to go to win a championship, and he said, look, I'll come the end of November. This is when I'm going to be available. It's all right going, oh, we're Rangers fans. We want him now. We want our big new shiny toy in Glasgow. Get him over here now. It doesn't work like that, mate. The guy's contracted. He's in China, so give the guy a break. Neil McCann's going to come in. It's going to be an interesting few weeks, no matter who the manager is. It's going to be interesting tomorrow, Kerr, because John Souttar's press conference didn't exactly inspire me, and if that's your leader and you're one of your leadership group, no wonder we're in the mess we're in, man. That guy's like Big John Coffey. He couldn't inspire. He is, you see him in press conferences, ooh, he's not exactly chomping at the bit to get on the grass on Saturday and prove what's been wrong with Rangers, mate. So these players have got it all to do, so it's going to be interesting. And like these sort of one-game managers have never worked well for us in the past. Steve Davis did okay. He came in for a few games, but I remember McCallum when we got Hibs was a bad one. Durant against Dunfermline was a bad one. So I like Stevie Smith. He spoke really well today. I think hopefully he just gets back to basics with this squad of players and he doesn't try anything too fancy. Keeps the defence solid, protects the defence with a couple of sitters, lets the fullbacks attack and the sitters go in for the fullbacks when they're up the park, and just tell the wingers to attack, get the balls into the box, create chances, and let your number 10 just stay actually helping. And what we've been doing with Asgard the last 4 weeks with him coming back into the number 6 position, and just keep him in the number 10 position if he starts, mate. That's what I would like to see, up and at them, mate. And see if we can see. Let's one game at a time. It has to be one game at a time. Stevie Smith's in tomorrow. See what he can do. Neil McCann will be coming in after that. See what he can do, and then let Muscat come in. But I don't know what you guys think. But when you look at this squad of players, I know Celtic are pretty rotten. I know Hearts are never going to stay the course when it comes to the end of the season. So you're trying to catch two teams. But I don't think we've got it in us. I think they've got it in us to drop 9 points and 12 points, they two teams. But I don't think we've got it in us to go on a 25 winning game run, win, which we would need to do to actually be back in the title race. I think we're a little bit too far behind with what Russell Martin's done with the results that he's had so far. But it'll be interesting few weeks to see. I'm still excited to watch the game tomorrow with the squad of players. And then it'll be when Muscat comes in, he'll get to evaluate the squad, maybe do a bit of tinkering in January, and then do what he needs to do in the summer, mate.
Yeah, okay, I think. Yeah, I agree with some of that. And just getting back to, obviously, we've got Rockby Cameron, we've got Thelwell and Stewart, who weren't involved with the manager process. That was up to the other two that was involved. But do you think that both these guys have got a long term at the club? You know, Stewart, I think I don't know. We don't know what to do. All right, we know Thelwell's involved in recruiting everything else. Stewart, he probably does a lot of stuff the fans don't really know. But apart from maybe like criticising the fan base at times, to me, he's not really done a lot I've seen. But he probably does stuff we don't know about. But as in Thelwell, I mean, that's Russell Martin's sack. Muscat, if he does come in, that's up to about £5 million we paid out for the two, right? Just for talking sake. All the loan players we've got, that's probably another 5-6 million in loan fees, maybe more. Just giving you a ballpark figure. And then you've got the £14 million on Shmeti and Fernandez, say, talking sake, £10 million, or right up to 10 and £10.5 million up to more. So we've actually spent a lot of money over a very small period of time. So you can see why Thelwell's getting criticised or looked at, because obviously jobs for his pals and then bringing his son in, which, listen, his son, by all accounts, to be really good at what he does, but I think you bring your son into a position where you're finding it difficult. I think it's not a good look. But surely Muscat comes in, do you think he's going to look at a squad of players and think these are the players that can take him further? Do you think he's going to look at it and say, I need improvements? Because we don't see a lot of summer. All the signings that he come in the summer, none have really done a lot, to be fair.
I think you'd be amazed at how much players can improve when they have confidence. I think it's quite clear to see that team under Martin had no confidence, and I think it was telling in Stevie Smith's press conference that clearly there's an opinion that the players were overcoached. The communication was quite poor. They were given too many instructions, which I think led to a lot of the performances which we saw. And he made a quite in my eyes, a comment when he said, "I'm going to go back to basics." Yeah. So I think that tells us a lot as to what the kind of environment these players were playing in. So I do think I maintain that you can look at this squad, and I still maintain that it's probably one of the best squads we've had in years on paper. Now, whether or not you've seen it on the pitch is another thing, but generally, I think this squad is good enough to be competing for the title. But again, we've seen them with playing in a really poor system under very little confidence, under a poor manager. So if you get Muscat come in and he can switch that on its head, I think even tomorrow you'll just see a massive improvement in the way that this squad is, just in performance levels. I think in terms of reinforcements, defence, obviously we've been screaming that for years. So yeah, I think he could probably look at that squad and go, I can work with this.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky, what's your opinion on the squad so far? I mean, obviously the football wise is not very good enough, right? We all understand that, and it's results, doesn't matter how you get them. If you can win 3 points playing bad, then you all say, well, when they start playing good, they're still going to win games, but we're not even getting 3 points at times, they're very struggling. And but you look at the loans, especially the loans for me, it's like I think we've got too many loans for one area of the park defensively, and the Fernandez one's always the one that sticks out for me. That's a lot of money on a boy who you brought in doesn't even sit on the bench. Whereas you would think we're struggling at left back, we've only got another one player there. But if he gets injured, then you have to put Canellis across or somebody else. I just feel the squad isn't balanced enough. And the loan players are great, Ricky, but especially maybe like Giga's a guy who's obviously played at a high level, but we always want us to develop him. Moore's the same. And it's really a situation I feel like at the moment we can be developing somebody else's young guys.
Yeah, no, I agree with Cam what he just said. I do think we've got a decent squad of players, and on paper, I mean, you've still got Finlay Curtis, who's been brutally underused over the last couple of months by Russell Martin and stuff like that. You see Moore going away, scoring 4 goals this time over international break. Baz Rami scoring goals. Souttar's outstanding for Scotland again, throwing himself at everything. Just the usual. I mean, this is every single international break. These guys are doing well. Ant-Man's tricks to set up a goal. I think Ant-Man's like a sort of player that I'm excited to see without Martin's mad tactics of telling him to come back inside. He's a player that hits the byline and he actually has the quality to pick out strikers in the box. I think with Gassama, I like Gassama, and he's got a trick and he'll score an amazing goal, but he doesn't create that many chances. He's always he's that little bit of trickery and stuff like that. So I think there is a few diamonds in the squad that just need polished. And hopefully Stevie Smith can give them a bit of confidence. Just take that leash off them. Just let them go and express themselves on the park, Kerr. You imagine like what it's like as someone's putting a muzzle on you and somebody's putting a lead in you, like especially Raskin. You can see what Raskin's saying, that Nelly wants to give his all for the club. Raskin loves Rangers, but Rangers is he needs a manager that puts his arm around him and gives him what he needs to perform on the park. And Russell Martin, why Russell Martin wanted to come into Rangers and make an enemy of Raskin on day one just shows you how much of a half-wit. I've never despised a guy in football as much as I do Russell Martin. I know that's another podcast all on its own, mate, but I think what he was doing to these players was basically, it was a crime, to be honest with you. So hopefully now, but the players have to show it, Kerr, because we've been in this position as well over the last few years, mate, where it's all been on managers. It's like it was come on, it was this, it was that. Right, the players need to show us something. And as I seen somebody saying it in the comments, and see Souttar's performance in that press conference today, it was the same as Rangers' performance at the start of the season. So the players need to get their finger out. And now there's no excuses for them. Let's see what I think. Smith will put a team that the fans would like to see tomorrow on the park. I've seen some people saying 4-4-2. I don't think we're going to get 4-4-2. We're not that lucky. I think it's going to be 4-2-3-1. But I think with a leash off of these players, we're going to see something a bit dynamic. I'm hoping to see what we did against Pilsen, that sort of performance where the players played with a bit of freedom and they scored a few goals. I think Dundee United's had quite a decent season. They're in fourth position. I've seen some cheeky people saying today they were predicting a shock, and that was Rangers to win at the weekend, which was against fourth position in the league. So hopefully that everything we're saying comes true, because the players are due us our performance, mate. And I'm hoping that it's going to be, I've got a full day of football. My wife's taking the kids to birthday parties. I've managed to get out of that all day tomorrow. So I've got the house to myself, just the dogs. So I'll be looking forward to watching the football tomorrow, mate. And a good Rangers win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the game myself tomorrow. So I don't know what to expect team-wise. I think I agree with you. I think Stephen Smith said he's going to go back to basics, which I think he has to just simplify things, because they're all good football players in their own right. They all can play football to a point. So I think just coming it back, when you play football, Cameron, they've all been in a football park at some level. I mean, so I think sometimes just simplifying things does improve. Not saying dramatically, but it does improve things. So I think that's the way to go. You don't want to overload football players because then it goes, a lot goes through their mind during game times and situations of part of thinking, like, what will I do here? Just simplify it and it looks a lot, I'm not saying it looks a lot easier, but it does on the eye to a point, doesn't it, Cameron? I mean, it's like football players just want to play the game at the end of the day. They don't want to be given thousands of bits of information.
Yeah, well, it's a relatively simple sport, isn't it? You get the ball, you put it in the opposition net. So, and generally in any teams, they're successful because they do the basics really, really well. The other stuff comes later, but if you do the basic stuff really, really well, then that, it goes hand in hand with anything. So I think that's probably what we need to get back to. Get back to doing the basics, move the ball quickly, not sideways, backwards, waiting for something to happen. Get the ball to your creative players and allow players to be free, drive at people. Like you were saying before, Ricky, with Ant-Man, have him wide and high, hogging the byline, get him cutting in on his left foot. Same with Gassama, and get the fullbacks overlapping. That's kind of what we've been used to. That's kind of what we've seen over the last couple of years, and even in the Premier League, that's what you get. But I just don't want this tepid nonsense of just passing the ball side to side, waiting for something to come up. But yeah, I'm hoping we can just get back to basics, just get the ball forward, get it up there quick, and be direct.
Shmeti. So he grabbed the goal, his first goal in a while. He's obviously got so many minutes since he's came into the team, Cam. But it was good to see him. I know it was against Gibraltar, but it's always good for a striker to score a goal to get the confidence up. In my opinion, Shmeti, I think it's time the fans gave the kid a bit of a break, if I'm being honest. I think he is getting a lot of the heat and the stick because he was a farewell signing, the Everton connection, blah, blah, blah. Fans have been not so much on his back, but there's a lot of stuff on social media. There's a lot of stuff written about him, and me personally, I think it's time to give him a chance. I think he's looked all right the minutes that he's been played in a really bad Russell Martin team, and I think what we've been speaking about tonight, if you get Ant-Man wide, and if you, honestly, I wouldn't be against even seeing Shmeti start tomorrow. If you get Ant-Man wide and you also get Gassama, and try and coach Gassama to get the ball in the box a little bit more, because I think Gassama is very good at taking men on wide and coming inside and shooting, and he's good at getting the ball back to the edge of the box, but actual crossing, he doesn't seem to want to ever cross the ball. But what's your opinion on Shmeti? Do you think it's time fans gave him a bit of a break and took a little bit of the heat off him, because it's not his fault that Farewell spent 8 million on him?
Well, I mean, star example for me is you look at McCoy, his goal scoring record before he came to Rangers wasn't great. I know he was better than Shmeti's, but he then went on to be the club's all-time leading goal scorer. So it doesn't really matter what he did before he joined us. As long as he scores for Rangers, that's all I'm particularly bothered about. Again, he doesn't dictate the £8 million transfer fee. To be honest, I mean, look, if we go on and he does really well and we can sell him for double that, you'd argue, wouldn't you? It was money well spent. We made a profit on him. If he can come on and score goals and win trophies for us, it's £8 million well spent. But the guy's barely been in the door and he's already got people on his back, and it's not him who decides the fee.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we've just got to get off his back and give the boy a chance. I thought he did all right against Storm Graz. I thought he did really well. He had 5 shots on target, got in really good positions. I know we got Miovski in there, but I think he's better than Miovski. I really do. From what I've seen of him, I think he offers a lot more than Miovski does. So yeah, I agree.
I'll just say what I think about Shmeti. I agree with you. I don't think it's the boy's fault. I think the problem with Shmeti is it's all centred around Farewell.
That's what I said, but it's not his fault. So fans need to get off his back and give the kid a chance. He's a 20-year-old kid, Kerman. Had nothing to do with Farewell. Farewell signed him and brought him to Rangers, but you can't just because you hate director of football. That's like we're going to have a go at Muscat because he's a baldy like Stuart. You can't be attacking the kid just because of Farewell. I think some of it's went over the top, and I think it's about time. I just think it's time to give the kid a chance and actually see what he can do, because I think there is potential there.
I don't think it's so much people on his back, Ricky. I think it's more to do that the more people are questioning Farewell.
I think they see it. He's bought him for a lot of money for Everton, like 15 million or whatever, which isn't a lot of money to Everton, right enough, because they're in the English Premiership. But I think because they bought him for Rangers for themselves, £8 to £10 million. If you're buying somebody for our league, and listen, football's changed, and football getting somebody for that money nowadays used to be if you brought someone in for that money, they were the best player in Scottish football straight away. But that doesn't happen anymore because football's changed. Paying that money for somebody, we've bought it for potential. We've not bought it because he's going to come in and hit the ground running. But I think the focus is on Thirlwell, buying him before and then buying him again. And just because other deals he's made during this summer, it's not looking great. So people are putting two together and thinking, maybe getting 5 or whatever. But I'm thinking he's bought him before and he's bought him again. Is a brown envelope installed. That all different type people, all different rumours people come up with. But I think there is something there. But the only way this starts to turn the narrative is if the boy scores goals. And he was part of Portugal's under 21 squad, so obviously he's rated by them, but he has to score, even if it's his first goals, I know if he's bum or I know if back of his head or whatever. If he starts scoring goals, then the narrative changes. But I just think it's a poor narrative on him because Thirlwell's bought him before. If he didn't buy him before, it might have been different. It's just because people fall apart on him and think, well, he's at Everton, didn't do a lot. He's came to Rangers and he's played a few games, not scored yet. So people just, it's football. You're a fan and you look at things and then people's get different opinions. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, but it's just the way football is. I don't know. Do you two think the Stevie Smith starting tomorrow, or does it go Miovski?
I think he will go Miovski. I think he'll keep everything as just for the experience. I think the team pretty much will pick itself tomorrow. I think it'll be your midfield three will be Barron, Raskin and Ashgard. You'll have Gassama, Ant-Man and Miovski will be up front in defence. I don't know if everyone's fit. I imagine it'll be the young left back, Tav, Cornelius and Suter will probably be your back four with Butland and goal. I'd imagine that's what you'll see. Diamandi's injured, I believe. Diamandi came back for international duty with a small knock, so he's out.
Yeah, I see. I mean, do you think it will change up tomorrow, Cam? Because if it goes like for like, I know he only been for one game, right? And we've had people in the past been in for one game, they don't really do a lot. Most recent probably being Stephen Davis, and they don't really change it much. But I think he has to slightly change it, because I don't think what's been happening before, the balance has been off and it's not been working, obviously. So I think he has to change it slightly.
Yeah, I don't see how he's going to keep it the same, because he clearly won what 4 games out of 16. That's appalling. You got to change that. I think previously we've at least won half those games, or maybe lost a couple. But I think you've seen it in his press conference. He's going back to basics. I think to me it will be a complete difference to what we've seen. I think it'll be players getting on the ball, wingers driving at players and getting crosses into the box. I would have thought. So I can't see him keeping it the same, because his press conference, I think, suggests to me that he clearly didn't agree with the way that the previous manager was coaching the team. So, yeah, I'd be very, very shocked if you saw even remotely anything that was similar to Martin.
Kerr, I think just you probably spoke to Willie about it, but what I saw with Stevie Smith was he was actually playing Russell Martin's football better than Russell Martin was playing football with the kids than Russell Martin was playing with the first team. He obviously had his own variation what he was doing, but what I saw what he was doing, I actually think that people keep pining for Kevin Thompson, but I don't think it's no surprise that they kept Stevie Smith on. I think he's quite highly thought of in the academy setup, and he's doing an actual quite a quiet but unassuming great job he's did down there. So I've got no qualms about him taking the team tomorrow. I think it will be 4-2-3-1, and it'll be more like what we're used to before. I think it's the players are not going to have to be static in positions. They're going to have to protect spaces and everything like you would expect from midfielders and stuff like that. But Raskin, if Barron's sitting, Raskin will have license to go forward with Ashgard, and Ashgard will have protection behind them to actually play in a 10, and the wingers will be direct, like Cam says, but there'll be protection behind them, so they'll feel a bit more solid. Whereas with Russell Martin, the players had every minute to be in the correct position, and nobody had a clue what they were doing, and it was an absolute mess. So hopefully back to basics, that's what he means by that, and we'll get a good victory tomorrow.
And Scott's saying here, Cameron at NCL, maybe back soon. Hopefully, I mean, a new manager coming in might think there's something there, and maybe he's back to obviously getting a clean slate, a new manager, and I might think he's got a chance now because we're crying out for somebody on the left side. I know I'm not saying he was going to be a world beater, but obviously with the players we've got and the way we were defending, the boy should have been given maybe a chance or even been on the bench.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Muscat might come in and think the same as Martin. We don't know really, do we? It might be an attitude problem, so we've got no idea really. I think the next few weeks will be telling. I think he was a bit of a rough diamond. I think he was just. It was a big step up, I think, for him because I don't think the plan was to integrate him that early into the first team. I think he'd done well, but I think I seem to remember the Killy game, Barry Ferguson's first game, he got caught out just due to the physicality of it. So. I think there's definitely a player there, but I think you just kind of need to nurture it and be careful with it because we've seen that with Leon King. He got thrown in way too early and it just killed him, just completely and utterly killed him as a football player. So there may be a player in there, but I think that's down to Muscat and if it suits his system or not. Because if he's not going to play him, then for the sake of the lad, you just sell him in January and just let him go and develop elsewhere. So I hope I'd like to see him back in because, like we say, he can play left back, he can play left side, centre half. I think he's quite a versatile player, and he looks like a decent player to me. But we'll see.
He's very comfortable in the ball in Salah, Ricky. And he's comfortable. You can see he's a footballer, but he does need to come up with physicality. But maybe was lacking. But maybe, like Cam said, he maybe was integrated too quickly, and maybe just because yourself is Scottish football, and coming through in Italy, it's not a lot of rough and tumble. It's all about playing it on the deck. When you're playing that, if you watch Italian football, you can work yourself out for the back to the middle before you're getting pressed. But in Scotland, somebody's on you quickly, and sometimes that takes me a while to get used to.
He was really impressive when he came into the team, Kerr. I remember for the first 6-7 games, he was really good. He was brilliant on the ball, and he was comfortable. But he seemed to be a player that won his confidence, I think. I'm sure it was Motherwell. One player completely roughed him up and he had a horrendous match. He was terrible. And then after that, every performance was terrible. He couldn't get back to that composed, good-looking defender that he'd been for that 7-8 matches. After he had that really bad performance, I don't know whether it was maybe coaches started targeting him and going, look, you getting about him, you can rough him up a little bit, and that's maybe what started to happen. But listen, that should have been with a decent. If he had a stable coaching team and a coaching setup, they should have been working with him over the summer to get him stronger because he's still a kid. To get him bigger, to get him ready for the first team, But we brought in Mr. Vegan Sausage Roll, and he kicked him out and kicked it. He was the first player that he banished out of the squad, which was just madness. But he was back today. He was training with the first team today. Stevie Smith brought him back in. So it's up to him. He's got a shot in training. I don't think he's going to be involved tomorrow. He won't be in the squad tomorrow. He won't be picked tomorrow. So, but I think that there is potential there, and I think it's one for Muscat to have a look at for maybe later on in the season to come in and see if he can. I think every player's going to start with a clean slate when he eventually gets here. I think McCann probably, they guys probably thought what I just said about NCL. They probably had plans over the summer to get him a bit bigger and a bit stronger to see if they could nurture his talent and get him to that level where he's able to compete with the St Mirrens and the Motherwells and the big strikers and handle the physicality side of the Scottish game. But unfortunately, Martin and a fair play to the kid for sticking around because he was training on his own, and that I've seen other people going on about it, how difficult it is. So maybe he is one that we can maybe start to see. And I mean, look how far Fernandez out. What a weird signing that was. I mean, we're speaking about NCL. We're not even speaking about Fernandes. He's the $3.5 million signing from Peterborough. He's the one that should be pushing your Jigga, your Suter, and your Cornelius, and maybe put Cornelius to left back. But I mean, that was, to me, that was. I don't look at Shmeti as bad a signing as a lot of people do. I look at Fernandes as being the one signing that, to me, just does not make any sense. I just can't see it with Fernandes at all.
I think it's more difficult for Fernandes as well. Like, he's not any game time, and he had a few minutes and people were criticising him. But there's nobody that's playing our defence this season. It's not had a bad time. They've all made mistakes. Aaron's, Jiga, Suter, Tav, Mahoma, they've all made mistakes. So it's not like there's anybody who'll stand there and say it's not me. I mean, Suter's made a few clears, I have to say. But Big John is a big siege defender, and that's what he is when he's trying to play football. I think that's when he was making more mistakes, because he had to play more football in his game. But you see, when he plays with Scotland, that doesn't really come up to it. He just defends, and that's really what he's good at. So, listen, it depends how we set up. In Nicolas saying, imagine Muscat drops Raskin.
What is his problem with Raskin? Like, it's so weird. Like, what did Raskin steal his girlfriend or something? It's the weirdest thing in the world. I've never seen anyone hate a Rangers player as much. Like, every single pod, it's comment after comment. Raskin's the devil. Why you like Raskin, Ricky? Ricky, you're an idiot. Why Raskin this, Raskin? I'm like, what is going on, man? Is it the same Raskin I watched that was playing with Belgium behind Kevin De Bruyne behind Trossard, that the whole of Belgium's raving about, going, how the hell is he at Glasgow Rangers? That same Raskin, he must be speaking about a different player, mate, because I've never seen anything like it in all pods with comments with a player hating someone so much.
Listen, we've all got opinions on players. We've all got our own opinions, and like I said earlier, if it's different for mine or different for yours, then that's a person's opinion. We can't say it's wrong, we can't say it's right. That's their opinion. And he said, if that's the way they think, that's the way they think. I mean, I like certain players, you like certain players, Cam likes certain players, and everybody likes certain players. So it's one of the things. I feel like the same, it would be boring. So, Nicholas, you can have your opinions, whatever you like. It's up to you. And we don't know if it's a he or a she, because you just said he's a he. It could be a she.
I always call him a he or a she. I don't know. Maybe it's a tranny. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows, mate? It's who knows?
That's how you've been taken off there, Ricky.
Why, it's not hingy. It wasn't hingy. It was. I didn't say anything derogatory. I just said it could be a woman. It could be a man. Could be. You never know in this day's world, this day and age, mate.
No, and Nicholas is like everybody in the comments. They can have their own opinions. You just like your rants, Ricky. That's your problem. Cam doesn't know what he's saying next. He's sitting like. Even I don't know where to go next after that. So no, it's going to be obviously tomorrow, Cameron. All focus will be on the team. It will probably be on Stephen Smith, but he said he's pre-match he doesn't want it on him. He doesn't want any focus on him, because he's just there to pick the team, do a job, and hopefully get 3 points and up the road and take it for there. So Dundee United are going to come to Ibrox tomorrow confident, because they've seen other teams come to Ibrox and winning this season. They've seen Dundee come to Ibrox and getting a point and nearly winning. So they're going to come tomorrow with a game plan and think we can nick something here, because other teams have.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always say to my dad, if he can get, I think for us, if he can get a goal within the first 15 minutes of any game, I think that pretty much stands us in good stead, to be honest. I think the problem with Martin was that he kind of never really started fast in these games, which allowed the opposition to come into it, especially at Ibrox. It allowed them to unsettle the crowd and feel their way and get confidence in the game. And I think with Stevie Smith, I think hopefully you'll see a fast start, a team trying to get onto the front foot straight off. So Yeah, I think that's the main thing with Stevie Smith that he's got to do tomorrow is get off to a fast start, because the longer it stays 0-0 tomorrow, the more chance Dundee will think we've got a chance here, which we've seen multiple times this season. I mean, even with Dundee, Stephen Preston's lot came and they were garbage. They just, the longer it stayed at 0-0, the more they felt confident and they got that 1-0 win. And at times we didn't look like scoring, and I think from their perspective, it was 2 points dropped. But you need to get early goals. You need to tank someone at home to get that fear factor back, and we don't have that. We haven't had that all season, and I think that's the thing with Stevie Smith. He's got to give Dundee United something to think about from the early start. You know, get fast, get at them. The first 10 minutes, make it really difficult for them. Let them know they're in for a game. Don't try and control the game too early on. Just get straight at them. So if he can do that, I think he's in for a positive result. But I think if the first 15, 20 minutes we don't start well, I think Dundee United will just grow in confidence from that and make life really, really difficult for us, which will get the crowd onto the players' backs, which I don't think helps anybody.
I actually think tomorrow, Ricky, the crowd won't be negative at all. I think
I think they'll be right behind Stevie
Smith. They'll be
Smith.
singing for the start. I think they'll be up for the game, and because I think that the issue was Russell Martin. I don't think it was the players. I don't think it was. I know it went onto the board in a bit, but I think the issue was Russell Martin. So I think tomorrow, because he's not there, they'll be fully behind the players and Stevie Smith. Don't get me wrong, if they go 1-0 down, you might hear a few groans and moans, but I think the fans know where we're at. The fans know we were trying to head to if we get a new manager and Kevin Muscat, so I don't think there'll be that much negativity tomorrow.
I totally agree, mate. I think 70-80%. I think if we'd appointed Danny Rowe, I think you probably might have got a bit of negativity or a young coach like that, because it would have been like Russell Martin. It would have been a hangover from that. But I totally agree with you. I think the fans will be... I think everyone's sick of being negative, to be honest with you, Kerr. We all are. I was speaking to someone about it today, about the podcast, and I said, mate, it's been... since we started it, it's just been... it's fun to do, but it's been negative, because the team has been so bad over the last 18 months. So, but I think everyone is going to be just excited. The international break is over, and I think that the fans will be right behind. I think I've seen it's a sellout tomorrow, so I actually think it's going to be good atmosphere. And I'm expecting the crowd to be right behind the players. And if, like Cam says, if we get an early goal, a couple of early goals, then I think it will be actually a really decent atmosphere. Are you going to the match, Kerry?
Yeah, I'm going to go tomorrow, Ricky. I was fed up with international. I don't really watch international football. I don't know if you do or Cam does, but I don't watch it. Last weekend I was watching Wraith against United, and actually Leon Kine played really well. He was right centre back of a 3, so he actually performed really well. And Jamie Murphy's still performing as well as ever. He's just not getting the pace anymore, Jamie, up front, so he knows when to go, when not to go. But I actually enjoyed watching that, and I watched Huddersfield against Bolton all night, and I thought that was a really good game as well. Bolton won it at the last ditch, and I thought that was really good football. But international football, I don't have any time for it anymore. I used to go and see Scotland quite a lot, but I'm not been probably for I'd probably say about 15 years, 10, 15 years. I've no interest.
That Belarus game would have got football stopped, mate. I mean, Steve Clarke, there's no point in Scotland getting to the World Cup, because Scotland will just stink the joint out with Steve Clarke. He'll pick exact same team. He'll be ultra defensive, and they'll just bore the tournament to death. So in a way, it's great that your country gets to a World Cup, but when you've got a manager like that in charge that's like stuck in the God knows what decade you would even put that he's stuck in, mate. It's difficult to watch. We've got so many good players as well in that team, and he just won't
take the Scotland squad in years.
You've got players in the Premier League. It's good players that have just won the Scudetto, and he plays them like he's playing like a Kilmarnock that's trying to get fourth spot for a European fourth spot. It's just crazy, mate. It really is with these players. So the international, it was tough watching Scotland over that international break, to be honest with you, mate. So I'm glad to get Rangers back tomorrow with Stevie Smith and hopefully see a few goals and a good Rangers victory. The players are due us one, mate. So good atmosphere, good win, and a good weekend for all would be great.
You have to say it, and a fair play to him for getting the results. Fair play if he gets to the tournament, because that's his end of the day, that's his job, and if he could do that, then you say congratulations and well done. But as you say, the football by all accounts wasn't great. So back to Rangers, I
Yeah,
see
but you
there's
want to
there's a
compete
lot
though,
of
don't you? You want to go to these tournaments and compete. I remember watching the 2 Euros. I've watched Scotland and the Euros. It's not. I get that it's great to be there, but what's the point if you're not going to compete?
I
What's the
think
Exactly.
that's
point? You might
different.
as well go home.
I grew up in a time where I remember going to Hampden because I was only 6 when they went. I went out, I can't remember being there, but I remember I was told I was taking it, but I was only 6 at the time to see McLeod leaving to go to Argentina because everybody thought Scotland were going to win a World Cup. So it shows you how it's ready for going to win the World Cup in Argentina in 1978, just getting there to compete. It's just the way football is. I think getting there for Scotland is the achievement. I don't think you can go and try and compete, but I don't think they will.
Wales compete, and the Republic of Ireland compete when they had
Mate,
players that are similar to Scotland. Like the Republic of Ireland never had any superstars.
I remember
It's like,
Costa Rica. Do you remember Costa Rica in Brazil?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, mate. Out of
I
nowhere,
just
that
think,
was.
that's my opinion. I just think getting there is an achievement. I just think that's the achievement. Getting there. Obviously, you want to go and try your best, but I don't think they're good enough. But I don't watch enough games to say that.
Well,
As
in fairness to the Euros, the first Euros anyway, he didn't actually qualify through the standard means. He qualified through a playoff round in this crap Nations League, and they increased the capacity for the tournament. So I know maybe that's been a bit too negative, but it's not like he won the group. He kind of anyway. But
All right, calm down, Glenn Hoddle.
Glenn Hoddle.
I hate Steve Clark, mate.
We're bringing Aidan Jury next. So hopefully we'll get 3 points. Obviously, if Raskin, because you're talking about Raskin in the chat, if Muscat doesn't come until November, we need to obviously try and get as many wins as we can, Ricky, before Kevin Muscat comes through the door.
One game at a time.
If he don't, but he's coming in. Is he coming in an open canvas or a blank canvas? Because by the time he comes in my opinion, the league's mathematically not finished, right? But I think it's out with our reach this season just because the way we're playing and what's happening. I still think we will drop points as well as winning maybe more games. But I think the only realistic option we've got just now at this moment in time is the Scottish Cup. Not only a League Cup semi-final, but the way we're playing, it's probably 70-30 against us. But the Muscat does come through the door in November. As the Scottish Cup's a only really option he's got winning a trophy. I think we're still in chance. I think we'll still be in the title we'll still be in grabs of the league.
One game at a time, mate. And what I'll say is it doesn't matter who gets the Rangers job, right? Whether it was Danny Rowe, Muscat, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Derek McInnes, right? What we need to see is a team that's making progress on the park. Like when Comont came in before Kettlewell and Motherwell schooled us. That's what we need to see. We need to see a Rangers team that's winning matches, that is a decent style of football, back to basics, and we have to hope that, okay, I think it's going to be too much for him to win the league this season, but what we have to hope is that he's able to make the tweaks to the squad, add a couple in January, maybe 2-3 in January. I don't know when it's easiest time. I like to get players from Asia and stuff like that. And then when it comes to the summer, he can bring in, because you're going to have 4 or 5 loan players going back to their clubs that we've got no chance of keeping. We're not going to be able to keep Jigga, Moore, all these sort of players that are on ridiculous money. Max Aarons is not going to be staying. So that's when he can do his reconstruct the squad to be the team that he wants. And the most important thing for him, Kerr, is that we're winning games and showing progress going into pre-season next year, but we have to hit the ground running next season. We need a manager that the fans can get behind. The club needs stability, right? The only thing that's been keeping our club going for the last 5 years, and the reason we're a laughing stock in Scotland, but we're not a laughing stock in Europe, has been our performances in Europe. We've been a Thursday night. All the highlights go all around Europe, and Rangers are getting to the quarter-final of Europa League. We're doing well in the Europa League, and Russell Martin took that away from us, so it's important that Comont gets that back. I would still like to see no matter, I'd like to see him still manage to qualify in the playoff for the next round, the Europa. I know people get excited about winning the Scottish Cup and winning the League Cup and stuff like that. That doesn't excite me, Kerr, to be honest with you. I don't think because if Russell Martin wins the Scottish Cup and then, sorry, Jesus, did I just say Russell Martin? If Muscat wins the Scottish Cup and then starts next season pish, then what's the point in winning the Scottish Cup? Okay, it's great, it's a trophy in the cabinet and all, blah, blah, blah. But the most important thing is that we have stability for the club, and that Muscat gets the time to build a club that is going back to winning, the dominant team in Scotland and winning trophies regularly again. Not just, I don't just want to win one Scottish Cup and then come second and be 10 points behind Celtic next season. That's absolutely pointless. Great, we'll win the Scottish Cup. We need to give a manager time to get, like, I know fans are not going to like this, but like, I think Martin O'Neill was always massive for Celtic. He came in at a time where Rangers were still the number one club in Scotland, and he managed to get them and build that club. It was Martin O'Neill for me that sort of flipped that, and we need Muscat to come in and do that for us and flip it back in Rangers' favour, man. There's no point in winning one or two trophies, one league title, and then Celtic go and win the next four. And I think Muscat has the capability to do this, and I know the fans are going to get behind them. I think 70% are behind them. And if we do that, and he has a good start, and then he manages to take that into next season, and we can see him building something, and we can get behind it, and the football's exciting, then for me, absolutely fantastic, and that's what we need. And fans need to get behind that, Kerr.
I understand that, Ricky, but I mean, we've not got long left, but it's actually has been over an hour, so we can talk about this on Monday. But just, Cameron, I mean, Ricky's saying the Scottish Cup is interesting, but when Alec McLeish came in, he won the double, didn't he? And then the following season, he won. So I think you can look at it both ways. I think winning a trophy breeds more confidence, and it breeds a winning mentality, whereas coming in and just saying that doesn't bother me, I need to focus on this, it's slightly different. And I also think we need to give Muscat time. Listen, we're not the best for giving managers time over the last few seasons. It's been, everybody's seen it, everybody's noticed it, but I think we have to, even if he starts and it goes tits up, I think we still have to give him time, because we just can't go through this process every 6 to 12 months. It's not feasible.
Yeah, but he's got a duty as well to show us that what he's trying to implement is working. And there may be instances where we lose games, but we've played well, and that's all well and good, but that can't happen too often. You still need to win football matches. There still needs to be an element of pragmatism. So I get that people want to have philosophy and want to see that the team's playing a style of football, but you also need to show that you can win football matches, even when you don't play that way, because you can't always play the same way every game. It just won't work. We've seen that under Clement in Europe. We didn't play the same way in Europe that we normally did in domestically. It's not going to work. It's a silly idea. So, yeah, all right, he needs an element of time, but he still needs to win. That's the expectation. You still need to win. All right, you might not win 4-5-0, but even if you win 1-0, still 3 points. Doesn't matter. Gets us up the table. So, and then in terms of the trophy front, you need to win trophies. You need to win. There's no point coming at us and saying, well, we got to a cup final, but we got beat. But it's, we did all right. So, no, no one remembers the runners up. You still got beat. People only remember winners. So again, that's the measure. That's the standard of this football club. Because arguably, you could say in Scotland we are the second most, financially profitable team. So we should really be challenging for these trophies. And at the minute, we're not at that point. I still do think this team have got a title charge in them. We've seen that with Clement when he came in. Sometimes things can switch. Celtic aren't great. I think Hearts will drop off. There's an opportunity there. But I don't want us to fall into the trap of thinking that we need to prioritise philosophy over results.
No, I agree with you. And I think, just before we go, Ricky, one last point. I mean, whoever comes in to take charge between now and when Clement's in, because you mentioned Clement, when Muscat's announced, hopefully he is, because I don't know if I get sat and wait 2 weeks for another manager, but when he does come in, will it be the 22nd of November, say it is, that's 5 to 6 weeks. If somebody has announced to take charge between now and then he goes on to his staff, say it is Neil McCann by all accounts, and he doesn't win many games, that's quite a... He's going to get a power of abuse for that, is he not?
Yes and no, but I mean this is the unknown that we've got going on with this squad of players, Kerry. I mean, a lot of people think that we're weaker than we were last season. I would debate that, but we'll have to see it now. We'll have to see exactly what we bought in the summer. The manager, Russell Martin, was not able to get a tune out of these players. So can Stevie Smith get a tune out of these players? Can Neil McCann get a tune out of these players? Can Kevin Muscat get a tune out of these players? This is all things we're going to find out. And time flies, mate. Time goes past very, very fast. It'll be Christmas before we know it. Then we'll find out a lot more about these players over the next 2-3 months. Curry put in the comment, what's the expectation? The expectation is always to win and win trophies, but we've not been doing that for a long time. For me, I want us to be, my expectation for Muscat is not to win one Scottish Cup and then come second in the league and then come second in the league. My expectation for Muscat is to build this pretty fast like he's managed to do at his other teams, and you can't expect him to win the title this season. That's just madness. You're 9 and 12 points behind and you don't know what that gap is going to look like by the time we play against them so you just don't know. Sorry, by the time Muscat comes in. But Hearts are playing Celtic, I think, next weekend, so one of them's going to drop points in that match at Tynecastle. Hopefully Hearts manage to take care of them, and then Hearts could maybe collapse. You probably want Hearts to beat Celtic, even though they'll maybe go a bit more points ahead of them. But if they can take 3 off Celtic, and then suddenly before Muscat comes in, you could only be 6 points behind Celtic. Because like I said, Kerr, it's easy to win games at the start of the season when your Hearts and everything's fresh and stuff like that. But when the pressure's on, when the cold months come, when it gets to, let's see how your Jamestown analytics signings are, when it gets to the freezing cold months and you're playing games every 3-4 days in Scotland, and you're playing up in Dingwall, and then you're playing back in Edinburgh, and then you're playing over Christmas, so many matches and stuff. So there is a lot of legs left in the season, and it is going to be interesting. But I think even over the next few weeks, mate, we're going to find out a lot about this squad of players. But what I would worry for, the big worry for me would be if we drop points tomorrow and Smith can't get a tune out of them, and then McCann comes in and the form is the same as what Ferguson's was, and then Muscat comes in and he's expected to work miracles and change that all of a sudden. If Smith can't get a tune out of them, McCann can't get a tune out of them, then it's going to be tough for Muscat to get a tune out of them. But at least he will be able to see, this is the parts that I need to make this into a winning machine. And I'm sure he's watching. I'm sure he's going to be watching. He's a workaholic, so he's going to be watching a lot of matches before he comes in. So let's see.
I have to say, I think we'll win quite comfortably tomorrow, because I think the players have a big weight lifted off their shoulders with Russell Martin not being there, and I think they'll go out and play some...
How many times though? How many times have we said that, mate?
Honestly, I do. That's the way I'm feeling. So
I agree. I hope you're right, but it's how many times have we said that over the last 18 months with these players, with the captain, who's the captain, and he'll be getting it tomorrow at 5:45. It'll be all Tab's fault after, so we'll see, mate.
Tomorrow. So Cameron, what's your prediction for tomorrow? What do you think your score will be? There's been a few 3-0s in the chat, 3-1, 2-1, but majority of people I think we're going to win.
I think it'd be tight, to be honest. They score a lot of goals. I think 2-1 would be a safe bet. But yeah, I think it'd be tight. I'm not quite sure we'll see a free-flowing Rangers coming out scoring 4-5. I think it'll be a tight one. I think it'll be a nervy game. But yeah, I'm gonna be positive. I think we'll win 2-1.
What about yourself, Ricky?
Same, 2-1. I'll go 2-1, and Miovski will score, and Gassama will win 2-1. I think we'll start well, be 1-0 up at half time, maybe get a second, and then Dundee United will make it edgy at the end. That's my prediction.
I think we'll win quite comfortable. I think it'll be 3 or 4-1, and I think we'll play really well. But I hope I'm sitting here Monday saying, oops, I was wrong. But no, I think we'll play quite well tomorrow and we'll win. Anyway, folks, that's us for tonight. We're well over an hour. And my thanks to Ricky, my thanks to Cameron, and thanks to everybody who watched us tonight and commented. wish you all a nice weekend and hopefully you enjoy the football tomorrow. Catch you all later.